Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. My name is Reverend Jim Webb, and I'm the author of the book, The Soul of Prosperity, as well as Prosperity from A to Z and Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, and other titles. This evening, and every Sunday evening, we work with prosperity and all the different types of prosperity. For prosperity is more than just money and stuff. Prosperity begins within, with a sense of inner contentment that comes from our connection with God. And as A Course in Miracles says, God, being love, is happiness. So we work with relationship prosperity, where we develop a more harmonious relationship with ourselves, and by default, that's reflected outside of us in the form of harmonious relationships with others. We work with professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, I have a wonderful job with wonderful pay, where I provide a wonderful service in a wonderful way. We work with family prosperity, where our families are sources of support and encouragement, or old family issues are resolved with love. We also, of course, work with logistical prosperity so that our lives work and struggle and suffering is mitigated. And we work with other types of prosperity that include financial prosperity, where our finances are a source of joy, fulfillment, and ease, and no longer a source of worry or stress. We work in many ways to develop this prosperity, and we share many ways with you. One of the ways that we are going to share tonight is actually one of the easiest and most powerful ways to manifest more prosperity, and that is by using the power of the Word. Words are more than just words. Words indicate an energy. And when we say a word, that's why they call it a spell, we are sending out an energy. And whatever energy we send out is the energy that we draw to us. So the words we speak create the world we see. As Florence Scovel Shinn says, your words are your magic wand. They are what create your world. So we tend to use words very casually, and we tend to use words very mindlessly. But what we're going to learn to do tonight is to use words very mindfully and very purposefully to create the world we deserve and we desire. But it's not just me tonight. We've got a very special guest. I've been wanting to get her on for quite a while, and her talents are so global that I couldn't fit all of the energy of her talents into one topic. But I finally realized how we could do it, and so I'm glad to have our beloved Reverend Tonya Parker here with us tonight. And I want to introduce you all to our beloved Reverend Tonya Parker. She's a Reiki master, a Reiki teacher. She's an author of one of my favorite books, ABC Your Way from Distress to De-Stress. She's also the author of a book called Diary of a Witch's Daughter, which is powerful because she works with the concept of a witch, not as some scary thing, but as a woman in tune with conscious healing. And that to me is so powerful, so that we can consciously be in tune with the healing power that we all have. And so in that case, I want to be an honorary witch too. In addition to all of that, she's had a storied career in business. She's got a wonderful career as a healer and a body worker, and so many other things. I can't even begin. But she's here to help us tonight with word power for prosperity. So let's welcome Reverend Tonya D. Parker. Good evening, Reverend Parker.
Good evening, Reverend Jim. Thank you so much for that very beautiful intro and for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's my sublime pleasure. And one of the things I mentioned in the intro was how we casually just throw words around without realizing their powerful impact. And I want us to talk about one of the examples we experienced in the green room. And you know Reverend Jim Webb. If you don't know me by now, you know that I love food. And we were talking about one night when Reverend Tanya Parker made this most delicious African peanut soup. It's this African soup with peanut butter and peanut in it and chicken and kale. It's kind of like Portuguese kale soup, but it's African peanut soup. And it is one of the most amazing things you'd ever have. If you like Spanish food, it's like feijoada. It's very similar, but it's African peanut soup. Oh, don't get me started. But that's not the purpose of the story. The story was I said, I can't cook. And all of a sudden, the minute that I realized I was foreclosing myself off from so much joy. Because you know I can eat. I'd rather be able to cook too so I can cook and eat. Amen? And I realized in
Amen.
that moment the power of my words to foreclose my joy. Because I just casually said, oh, I can't cook. And that is what we want to talk about tonight, the power of your words. Now, Reverend
Mm,
Tanya, in a recent talk that you gave, you talked about some proverbs. And one of the proverbs you talked about was how the word has the power of life and death. You talked about kind words are like the sweet nectar to the soul, and other things. Tell our viewers a little bit more about the power of words so that we can really understand and consciously use words.
absolutely. And thank you, Reverend Jim, for telling on yourself. Um, and providing a powerful example of how our words can we can just inadvertently speak something and not realize the impact. So, everything is energy. We all know this, right? So, our words are no different. Our words are energy. They carry energy. They help us, they have the power to help us create or destroy. So we need to really be clear about what is coming off of our tongue. And so, with that energy, with that vibration, it can tap into that creative force within us, or it can tap into that destructive force within us. It can help us to manifest that which we desire, or manifest that which we don't desire if we're not being conscious about the words that we speak.
It's so true. Let me share an example of this from years and years ago. It was my first house in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, my first standalone house versus a condo. And it was one of those spring days where it was the first, I call it the first heat of May, where it's the first day when you want to put on a fan or something. It's not hot enough for the air conditioning, but it's hot enough for the attic fan. So I had an attic fan that was right over my laundry room. And it was not in the inner structure of the house. The laundry room was kind of like the outer structure above the garage. So I had a friend over and it was hot and we were sweating. And I said, let me go turn on this fan and watch me fall through the laundry room ceiling because it was above the laundry room. So the floor wasn't finished there. But it was one of those big attic fans. I don't even know if they make them anymore. It was like one of those ship turbines. It was like 8 feet. But to get to it, you had to walk on the rafters. And then you had to crank the the band, the pulley thing to get it started after you had turned it on. And walking on the rafters was like Simone Biles walking on one of those parallel boards. If you fell off, you just fell off, right? And I said to my friend, I said, now watch me go fall through the ceiling. And I was just joking, or at least I myself because I would steal myself on one of the top rafters so I could balance myself. Then I pulled that little chain crank thing, and pulled it, but I pulled just a little too hard. And my knee went into that pink insulation,
Mhm.
and then I felt the knee going through the drywall, and the knee just kept, and I started hearing the drywall crashing down on it was the laundry room, so the washer and dryer below, that was when they had the big washers and dryers, right? And then I felt more of my weight going down. And next thing you knew, I was holding myself between the two rafters. My knees were both my feet had crashed through the ceiling. My friend comes into the laundry room hearing all this commotion, sees my legs swinging like this in the laundry room. And he said, "Well, all you can do now is just let go and fall on the top of the washer and dryer." And that's what I did. And he said, and he wasn't even a metaphysician. And he said, "See how powerful your words are?
Mhm.
Watch me go fall through the ceiling." What did I do? I went and fell through the ceiling.
Mm.
I
You
put a
called
spell
him.
on myself. I put a spell on myself. Tell them about spells, Reverend Tanya.
Oh, definitely. It's funny how the English language works. And we talk about, when we string letters together, we call that spelling, right? At least stringing them together in some particular way. So, yes, that is spelling, but our words have a way to create spells. Many of us say, "Oh, what is that magic stuff?" For me, I believe that we have the power to create, which in and of itself, that's magic. That's a form of magic. So spelling is a way of creating what we desire, or it could be a way of creating what we don't desire. So when you opened your mouth and you spoke those words, you created what you didn't desire, but you spoke it in a way as if this is what I'm going to do. And even though you were joking, you spoke it aloud, and we need to be aware that sometimes that vibration will line up with circumstances and bring that to fruition. So we really want to, as Don Miguel Ruiz says, be impeccable with our word. And people talk about me. I'm from the country. I was talking to you all earlier about being a Virginia girl living in a Maryland world. So I'm from the country. I tend to talk slowly. I tend to talk deliberately, but I have learned I need to stop and think before I utter words out of my mouth because I have created way too many situations in my life that I have not wanted to. I've put a spell on
Mm,
myself.
yes. And we all put spells on ourselves. So, what we're going to talk about tonight is how to use words more intentionally, more deliberately, and more powerfully for prosperity. So,
Mhm.
if we only had 15 seconds or 30 seconds left in the program, what would you say to people, Reverend Tanya, about how to use words more deliberately, more purposefully, and more powerfully?
Great point. So I would say choose your words to create. Choose your words that have power versus take the power away. And so I have a list of some of those words that can disempower. And we want to
Okay.
make sure that we are avoiding those words and choosing other words that are more empowering, if that makes sense.
Yes, I sometimes I call it words that steal and words that heal. Words that steal
Mm.
from our good and words that heal us to allow our good. So share with us some of your words, Reverend Tanya.
Absolutely. So, one of the primary words that steal, I love that term, and I might steal that from you, Reverend Jeff. Sometimes I call them sweet and sour words.
Mhm.
When I've been working with one of my colleagues, we put together some information and call them sweet and sour words. But words that
Mhm.
steal, primary one is want. And so you may hear people say that all the time. I want this, I want that. But
Mm.
if you think about the energy of the word And I originally learned this from you, Reverend Jim.
Hmm.
When we say we want something, then that immediately speaks to what we don't have. So that
Mm.
speaks to lack. And
Yes.
if we're in this constant state of wanting, that's in a constant state of affirming that we are lacking, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Absolutely. And a suburb of that is I don't want.
Hmm.
Tell us
Hmm.
about I don't want and what does that do with the universe only hearing energy?
Well, the universe hears energy. It
Hmm.
truly is this neutral force, and
Hmm.
just I'll say, just like with any artificial intelligence, any
Yes.
AI, we
Uh-huh.
can program it to do what we want, right? So with
Hmm.
the universe doesn't hear the don'ts. The
Hmm.
universe is hearing that I don't want such and such. I remember years ago, I had gotten out of a relationship and I just kept affirming to everybody, well, I don't want to get in a relationship again anytime soon. I don't want this. I don't want that. And I remember it was Reverend Aurelia who wrote
Hmm.
down what I said and she circled the word don't. And she says, okay. So since the universe doesn't hear the don'ts,
Uh-huh.
what you're essentially saying is, I want to get into a relationship. And I was like, oops.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Shortly after,
like that Jeffrey Osborne LTD song. Every time I turn around, back in love again.
oh, I love your Motown sermons, Reverend Jim.
Yes. So I don't want are close cousins to each other. It sounds like, and so
Absolutely, they
and
are
certainly words to avoid,
words
because
to avoid.
it. Ernest Holmes said, he said what you paraphrased: the universe is a simple and objective reflector of our words. The
Yes.
universe doesn't
Yes.
evaluate, the universe doesn't judge, and the universe doesn't sift or sort. The universe just says, this is the word you said, then this is what you see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
So if we know this, we can
Mm-hmm.
work with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can work with
Yes.
their words. But what I have found is that often we pick up languaging from our family,
Yes.
from our peer groups. And
Mm-hmm.
many of us, I'll speak for myself, we may speak based on past trauma. So we
Yes.
continue to bring in things that we don't desire because we're caught in this victim vortex, so to speak.
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. It's just so fascinating to see that happen. I do a lot of counseling, a lot of readings, a lot of support for people. And
Hmm.
one of the things I notice is I notice people getting hypnotized by their words. They start
Hmm.
getting into their story, and initially they may be coming in with a certain energy, but then when they
Hmm.
get into their story, it's almost like they slip into a comfortable old shoe that they forgot they owned.
Hmm.
And when they're in their
Hmm.
story, it's odd to observe, but they have a certain peace and a certain joy that belies the trauma of the story because they're comfortable there.
Absolutely.
And that story, that word story, keeps them from their higher glory because they stay
Ooh, I like
stuck
that.
in that vibration. So one
Hmm.
of the things I've learned is don't let your word story keep you from your higher glory.
That's a good one, Reverend Jim. I'm gonna,
Snapping Z formation.
there you go. Reverend Jim, you always have these wonderful, wonderful ways of saying things that I can remember. So I'm going to have to remember that. Don't let your word story keep you from your glory. And I'll quote you too. Okay, I'll give you
You'll
credit.
quote me the first two times. The first time you'll say, Reverend Jim said this. The second time you'll say, a mentor of mine said this. And the third time you'll say, somebody said this. And after that, you own it.
I'll own it then, right? Okay, okay. And there are other words that can steal your joy, that can be part of that word story that keeps you from your glory. Another
Mm-hmm.
one is that word try.
Mm. Tell
We
us
hear
about
that one
that.
all the time, don't we? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so try, if I just had to break it down, I would say that is one of the most disempowering words. It doesn't speak to commitment truly. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
speak to a full intention.
Mm-hmm.
It indicates, the sitting on the fence aspect of
Yes.
things. So
Yes.
that's not telling the universe that you are clear about your
Yes.
intention. So
Absolutely. And you know
try
what
is
else?
one of those. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and you know what else? In our
What else?
common lexicon, try has also morphed into no.
Mm.
How many people do you know say, I'll try to make it, and you know immediately don't put them on the guest list? Amen?
We know that. Amen.
So anybody that says I try, it has also morphed not into a lack of commitment, a lack of direction, and a lack of energy behind their intention. It has actually morphed into no, because we commonly think of try now as, oh, I'll try to make it, which means they have no intention of making it.
Right, right. And so I'm seeing Shay saying, what is a replacement for the phrase I don't want? So for try, I love to just say, I intend, I
Mm.
will, I intend to do this. And when I set intentions, the word evokes a certain energy within me.
Mhm.
I sit up at attention, my shoulders are back. I intend to blah, blah, blah. And I may write it down. I'm reinforcing that because I'm very clear about bringing my intentions forth. So it
So
feels
that's a
much more
power word for
powerful.
you. That's a
Most
power word for you.
definitely,
I intend. Okay.
I intend.
Is a
Yes,
power word.
yes.
What are some other of your power words?
Well, going back to the word we don't want, such
Hmm.
as want,
Hmm.
Um, I learned this from you too, Reverend Jim, and I love it. It has a different energy to it. If you're saying what you're bringing in, I desire. I
Yes.
desire. Yes.
Yes.
And do you look? I don't want to steal your thunder because I took it from you.
well, you came, as they say, you came by it honestly then. But
Oh my
yeah, but
goodness.
let's work with it. I actually got it from Jan Levan's end, I think.
Okay.
So we can both attribute her, and I'll hand it off to you. Okay?
Okay, okay. So, you think of D, and if you're in the Spanish or certain Latin-based languages, or yeah, you think of D means of. So desire, sire means father, of the father. And
Hmm.
so it takes it to a different vibration. And
Yes.
when you start paying attention to these words, you actually can feel the difference within yourself when you speak
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Desire of the Father. This is something that is of a divine nature that I'm calling forth for myself. Yes.
Yes. And I love one of my favorite power words, in addition to I desire, is
Mhm.
I accept. And the reason that I love I accept is because I accept is a totally different energetic dynamic than I want
Mhm.
or I desire. I accept says, I am here and the universe is here to support me and to reflect my desire. So when I desire something, not only do I desire it, but I accept it because there is nothing within me saying no to that which my heart has already expressed as a yes. So I
Mm.
accept is another one that I love as a power word. And
I
that can
love
be a
that.
and that can be a wonderful antidote to I don't want. It's not I
Mhm.
don't want, it's I accept. I accept joy. I accept peace. I accept harmony. I accept ease. And
Mm.
the other thing I do is I move away from the thing to the feeling. I
Mm.
accept the feeling, which gives that feeling, a number of things that would evoke it, right?
Right, right.
it, you know,
Yes.
I don't want a thing because there could be a whole lot of things that all evoke the same feeling. So I work with
Mm.
I accept the feeling of and leave the
Mm.
rest to God. I have all these
I
little
love that.
mantras. I accept the feeling of and leave the
Leave
rest to
the
God.
rest to God.
I accept the
Yes.
feeling of and leave the rest to God. I accept
I
the
accept the
feeling of and
love
leave
and
the
leave
rest to
the rest
God.
to God.
You know, I've been listening to too many rap songs over the last 40 years
No,
because Spirit speaks
I
through me
love
in
it.
iambic pentameter and they start rapping through me.
Well, I love it. I love it because, I have this, you speak through, your rhythm and all of that. For me, I love anagrams.
Yes,
And so for me, magic, not anagram, what is the term?
I know what you mean.
Anyhow, you know,
MAGIC, and each
yes.
word, each letter being a word. Yes,
Exactly. So I do
yes.
that all the time. I got that from my sister. It's one of
Uh-huh,
her gifts as well. And
uh-huh.
so for me, I look at the word magic, making
Yes.
affirmations, growing, and consciousness.
Oh, do it again, please.
Magic,
Make it.
making affirmations, growing, and consciousness. So I love your words. I love your phrases because they are all affirmations, and the
Yes,
vibration of them is so high. And so when
yes,
we can get into a consistent pattern of speaking those affirmations, that
yes,
helps us to grow in consciousness and vibrate at a different level so that we can
yes.
start to attract what we desire to ourselves.
Yes, beautiful. And I want to drill down on that a little bit more because you brought up the magic word affirmations. And what I want to drill down on in the next segment is how to bring our affirmations to life. And we're
Mm.
going to do that next. We're also going to take questions from our audience, but now we have to sell some soap. So we're going to take a break here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our Please help us say thank you. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors and donors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, and all of our individual donors and sponsors. Thank you for being a part of the New Thought Media Network. Please come be you.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? we share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network with Reverend Tonya Parker speaking on the word power for prosperity. And we've been having such a wonderful discussion that time has flown. There were some wonderful things we brought up in the prior segment. I want to cover some more power words, and I also want us to cover living your affirmations, turning your affirmations into a living, breathing entity. And we'll get into that in a moment. But another power word that I really feel that it is important for us to explore is I am or I have. So can you speak to us about I am?
Oh, most definitely. Thank you for that. Ooh, so we know that's powerful, powerful vibration right there.
Yes.
And that puts us in that God vibration, and it is
Yes.
declaring who we are, which is
Yes.
perfect, whole, and complete. It really speaks to the God within us. And if the God that we think of is creator, then we are creator. And when we declare I am, we are declaring something to be so. And it helps us to align with that. So when we create affirmations, some of the most powerful affirmations start with I am. And then you
Yes.
follow it. Be conscious about what you follow it with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You want to make sure it's something that you truly are clear you want to declare yourself to be.
Yes.
And when you say I am, it's not saying I am going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not saying I want to be, I
Mm-hmm.
desire to be. I mean, that takes it to that major power space right there.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Right
And
now.
so, right now, in this moment,
Not when the stars align, not when this happens, not when that happens, not when something outside of my power or my sphere of influence happens to occur, when somebody chooses to do this or do that. Right now.
right
Sorry,
now.
go ahead.
Oh, Reverend Jim, I just feel I just want to say, Amen, Reverend Jim. Go ahead now, preach, brother. Absolutely. It brings it to the right now instead of this unknown future time. It's calling
Yes.
it forth into the now, which is a really powerful place to be. Because when we
Yes.
stay in the past, we can disempower ourselves. We can be
Mm-hmm.
focused on things that happened. And when we are in the future, that's when we can start to get into that future tripping. We can start to get into that worry mind. And I know this well, I'm speaking for
Mm-hmm.
myself. So
Yes.
when we can bring things into that present moment, that helps empower us and ground us into that moment. And so that vibration starts to come forth from that I am statement.
Yes, absolutely. And this moves us into living your affirmation and processing your affirmation. Okay? So, one of the things that we've established that, bless you, one of the things
Thank
that
you.
we've established is the power of creation is now. We're not talking about something in the future. I want to do this someday. I want to do that someday. Someday never happens. It's someday morning right now. And it's not in the past, because the past is an old energy that no longer exists. The past is written in disappearing ink. So the power for creation is now. And so any affirmation is in this moment of now, which is the moment in which we are aligned with the highest power of creation and manifestation, which is God, with which we are one. For that is the energy that moves to us, that is the energy that moves through us, that is the energy that flows from us, and that is the energy that goes out and grabs its reflection. So,
Mm,
living your affirmation, let's talk about this. Living your affirmation is sitting in the energy of it, being in the energy of it, not just saying it as a throwaway line and not saying it unmindfully, but saying it to every cell in your body, saying it with every cell in your body, working with it with each of your Shakti, each of your energy centers. One of the things I do when I work with affirmations is put it in each and every of your energy centers. So you don't
mm,
just say an affirmation once. You go into a meditative state, you go into your highest state, and whatever that affirmation is, you've worked with it with your crown, with your third eye, with your throat, with your heart, with your solar plexus, with your sacral and your root, and you infuse yourself with
mhm,
the affirmation. You live the affirmation. You vision the affirmation. What does this affirmation look like? What does this affirmation feel like? What do I feel like living this affirmation? You eat the affirmation. You drink the affirmation. And
mhm.
that's a little bit more powerful than just saying it once. Amen?
Amen. I mean, I think we can get into a state where we say, oh, this is a great affirmation. Let me say it. And you say it and that's it. Or you might even write it down. You might
Mm-hmm.
even have it on a post-it note, but you're not
Uh-huh.
really, let's just say you could be missing out on an
Yes.
opportunity to embody it, to bring it
Yes.
within. I love what you spoke because it really talks about a full sensory experience of the
Yes.
affirmation and really getting
Yes.
to the feeling of it. And so, I always like to think, okay, how do I see this affirmation? How do I hear it? How do I feel it? How do I smell it? How do I taste it?
Mm.
All these ways of bringing it within
Yes.
myself, how to
Yes.
embody the affirmation. So, spending
Yes.
some time actually visualizing the affirmation.
Yes.
And, I was asked a question recently about, how much time do you spend thinking about financial wealth? Because I was saying, I don't use the term filthy rich anymore. I use the term pristinely prosperous. And
Mm.
so I
Yes.
say I am pristinely prosperous with
Mhm.
relational wealth and
Mm.
with spiritual wealth. And so I knew that my intention was to provide harmony with those wealths as well as financial wealth. And
Yes.
so the question that was asked of me was, okay, how much time do you spend each day focusing on relational wealth? If you were to give a percentage. So it was a very high percentage. How about spiritual? A high percentage. And I was looking at the financial wealth and I wasn't spending as much time. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, how can I do that?
Mhm.
So it started working with my affirmations and really bringing them alive. And so
Yes.
this is a funny little thing. I take my shower time now. And so in
Okay.
my shower time, I'm in this beautiful shower,
Yes.
that's in the home in my vision and all of that. And it's like everything that's there. So
Mm.
it's really important if we are affirming something, how do we bring that alive into our life? How do
Yes.
we actually start to see aspects of it? Because if we are affirming that we are something, I am something,
Mhm.
and we are claiming something, calling it forth, how does our timeline line up with what we like to say is a future timeline?
Mhm.
Our human eyes just don't see what's manifested yet, right? So,
Yes.
what can
Yes.
we do
Yes.
so that we can see some physical evidence, which helps to feed us even more? And so,
Yes.
I spend some time doing that, and affirmations is a wonderful way of doing that. And,
Yes.
a lot of people say, well, I think that's fake, that fake it
Mhm.
till you make it. It's like, well, if you believe it to be so, that ain't faking it.
Amen. Amen. Now let's talk about the process of affirmations because Ian Van Zant, one of the things she said of millions that's so brilliant was when you declare yourself a thing, the first thing that happens is that anything unlike it shows up for healing. And I know many of us tend to shy away from affirmations when they don't manifest just like that. Because the first thing that happens is anything, like Rumi said, love is already there. We just have to remove the barriers to love. When we declare ourselves a thing, everything is love. And so any barriers to it that live within us show up that we can remove them. So let's work with, for a moment, for our guests, let's work with all the ways we can process through the discouragement that happens when an affirmation doesn't manifest in 30 seconds.
Well, that's very true. And I have quoted Iyanla on that many times. And I actually saw that it was originally Conversations with God, blanking out on
Yes.
his name for who stated that. And so I've seen it many
Neil
times in my
Donald
life.
Walsh.
Neil
Neil
Donald
Donald
Walsh.
Walsh. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. So I've seen that happen many, many times. And
Yes.
so for me, I have to remember, call
Mm.
back into myself, bring back to myself the truth of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, in spirit, I know that I am perfect, whole, and complete. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that this illusion can show up. I just need to
Yes.
be steadfast. I need
Mm-hmm.
to remind myself to continue working towards the goal. For me,
Yes.
I have been learning lately, thank you to Empress Lolita Thomas.
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about creating new neural pathways.
Yes.
Creating new neural pathways. And so that
Like
doesn't
pathways to
happen
inner peace.
like pathways to inner peace. So, we're not going to shift our neuroplasticity just by saying an affirmation once or
Yes.
twice.
It's
We've
living
spent
it.
we've spent a
Yes.
lifetime creating these ways in which we speak, in which we believe, in which we show up.
Yes.
So it's going to take some time to
Yes.
burrow ourselves out of there
Mm-hmm.
and get over here and have it
Yes.
so that that is our comfortable go-to spot. You know how we get in the
Yes.
car and we drive the
Yes.
car, and sometimes it's like we're on autopilot, we're in this trance
Yes.
state and we get to our destination. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to become more conscious. Just be
Yes.
real conscious about where we're driving ourselves to,
Yes.
using our words, with using our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Really, this isn't a Yanlaism, telling
Mm-hmm.
ourselves the microscopic truth, right?
Yes. Yes.
About what is
Yes.
actually happening. Oh, this is a trauma response right here. This isn't the
Yes.
truth of what's happening. You know,
Yes.
calling on A Course in Miracles, my
Mm-hmm.
favorite lesson above all else, help me see things
Things
differently,
differently. Amen.
because otherwise we're going to get caught up in the victim vortex again, right? Going back to
Yes.
those neighborhoods that
Mm-hmm.
don't serve us. So,
Victimhood, not enough hood, doubt
oh yeah,
hood, friendless hood, poor
undeservability,
hood.
yeah, nobody love me hood, all
Mhm.
of those hoods ain't got nothing for you.
Amen. Amen. And
Yeah.
understanding that creation and manifestation is an iterative process.
Mm,
Our consciousness is is in layers like an onion. And when
yes.
we declare ourselves the thing, the first thing that might be revealed, because all things are less than God would have us learn, according to A Course in
Yes.
Miracles, lesson 189.
Another favorite of mine.
Yes, another favorite, yes, is okay. So, what is this showing me? Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for showing me the illusion. Thank you for showing me that which says no when God has already said yes. Thank me.
Yes.
Thank you for showing me that which says no within me when God has already said yes. Thank
Yes.
you for showing the no within me when God has already said yes. And when it's
Yes.
shown to us, when it's revealed to us from our unconscious mind, from under the surface of our consciousness, when it's coming up in our face, We can no longer deny it, run from it, or blame it on somebody else. Amen. Because everything I see
Amen.
begins and ends with me.
With
So if it's
me.
showing up in my
Yes.
face, it must have been within me and it must be coming up for healing. And that's a good thing because that means it's not living in there anymore, being an unconscious block. Now it's a conscious challenge in my face and I know it's an illusion. So I can, as you said, Reverend Tanya, I can reclaim the truth of who I am and diminish the power that I have given this illusion. Because the power of God within me is greater than any illusion that shows up. Amen.
Ashe. Ashe. Yeah, that's
Mm.
very powerful. And I'm loving the chats. Everyone is they're
Yes.
in the chat and they are in the amen corner for real.
Mm.
Um, it's very empowering. You feel it, or I'll speak for myself. I feel
Mm.
it within
Yes.
my body when that
Yes.
mindset shift happens.
Yes. Yes.
And once you feel that, it's like, "Ooh, you get a taste of that." You don't wanna go back to the old way
Exactly.
of being. No. So
Exactly.
you'll do everything you need to do to maintain this. So you will
Yes.
stay in a place of prayer and meditation. You will attract those in your life who are similar, who will
Yes.
help to support you in being this powerful self, being your highest self. And
Yes.
so you'll see all those objections, so to speak, the
Yes.
other, um, everything that is unlike
Yes.
start to dissipate. But again,
Exactly.
it's that steadfastness, it's that consistency. We can't give up at the drop of rain.
Yeah. Thank
You know?
you. I love that. You can't give up at the drop of rain. Because the rain simply means that the cloud is moving out of the way and the sun show, and here comes the sun, like the Beatles said. Amen.
Here comes the sun. Amen.
Amen. Well, beautiful. We're going to have some other little surprises for you in a moment, but we are bound by law to sell more soap. So we're going to go on a break, and then we've got a couple of surprises for you here on the New Thought Media Network.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe DeMuro. New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network with the Miracle of Prosperity and Reverend Tanya Parker. We want to do one final question, which is from Carlisa. I am feeling successful and grateful. How to increase the momentum? And I'll take a
Mhm.
stab at it if you'd like, Reverend Tanya, and then I'd like you to add to that, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, because, and I wanted to take this question specifically because it encompasses all that we've discussed this evening. We've talked about the power of words, but it goes beyond affirmations. It goes to sitting in the energy of that which we affirm, embodying it, as you said, bringing it into all of our energy centers, tapping it out. In a class this past week, we worked with tapping, or EFT, to tap it into the meridians, the energy meridians. It goes to living it because that creates new neurological pathways, pathways of yes, where pathways might have been blocked with no's, or memories of no's, or memories when the universe told us no. So sitting with it. And then everything is related to a song. And so then the song comes up from James Ingram, from his "It's Your Night" album from 1983. He was from Akron, Ohio, and he and I have the same jacket. The one that was on his album cover, I have that jacket as well. But that's all irrelevant. What's relevant is that there was a song on this album called "Try 100 Ways." So if you want to stay in the energy of something, give 100 thanks for it, and get 100 visions of all the ways it could be made manifest or magnified in your life. Find 100 ways, and that will magnify the manifestation, and it will untie God's hands to give all the ways that God might offer you offer you that which would invoke or evoke this energy. Yes.
Mm,
Any
I
other
love
thoughts,
that.
Reverend Tanya?
I have a couple of other thoughts. One that
Yes.
comes up to add to those wonderful ones that you have is being in a state of gratitude
Yes.
for all that you see. If you are
Yes.
feeling successful and you're feeling
Mm.
grateful, well, be in gratitude. Speak
Yes.
your gratitude,
Yes.
sing your gratitude,
Yes.
dance your gratitude,
Yes.
write your gratitude. Be in
Yes.
that energy because that's a high vibration and it's a very attractive vibration. It's right up there with joy. So
Yes.
when you are acknowledging you are in this state and being in a state of gratitude around it, it helps to bring more of that to you and it helps to keep that momentum. I
Yes.
also am really big about working in the collective, working in
Mm.
community. And so I
Yes.
have an amazing soul tribe of people from different spiritual communities that I've been a part of. And
Yes.
these people help hold me accountable to my word, to
Mm.
who I am, not
Mm-hmm.
who I might feel like when the chips are, it's like, remember who you are.
Mm.
Remember who you are. So these people help lift me up and help remind
Yes.
me, and they help celebrate me, and they help me to generate this energy and to stay in this energy. And they tell me the truth and provide reflections for me when I get in a space of forgetting, because we
Mm.
get amnesia sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are that magic little pill that will
Yes.
remind me of who I
Yes.
truly am. So those are just another couple of ways that come up.
Wonderful. Thank you, Reverend Tanya. So what are you working on these days?
Oh, well, Reverend Jim, we have retreats going on. We are going to
Mm.
Sedona on
Oh, wow.
August 4th, and we have
Yes.
2 weeks of retreats in which we're doing. And so that's always there and always teaching Reiki. But my big project right now
Uh-huh.
is my book coming out on the winter solstice. It's called
Mm.
Witch Voices: Women in Tune with Conscious Healing, Remember Their Truth, and Reclaim Their Power. And
Mm.
there are 33 voices that we have gathered. We're
Mm-hmm.
international because look, all of us are in the States, but we got one person from Australia.
So you were
So,
international.
so we're
Yes.
international, and we've
Yes.
been working together. We've been doing automatic writing sessions.
Mm.
We've been doing writing sessions for folks to get their books in. And we are planning a wonderful witch author super summit for 7 days leading up to the book's release.
Mm, beautiful. That's exciting. So you're up to some
It is exciting.
exciting things, huh?
I am. I am. What are you up to, Reverend Jim? We haven't caught up in a bit.
Oh, yes, we haven't caught up in a bit. Well, I'm doing a class right now called Speaking with Spirit. And as I mentioned, one of the things we do is learn how to receive guidance from Spirit, how to feel the blessed assurance of Spirit. And I do it every Thursday night. This past Thursday, we worked with tapping, EFT, as a way for us to open to our higher self and that communication that our higher self has with the highest intelligence. So every Thursday night, we're doing that. The class interactively is sold out, but what you can do is get the recordings and benefit from the recordings of that. And on Monday nights, I'm doing Ask Spirit Anything. It's a channeled session each Monday night where you can ask Spirit anything. And some of the questions are amazing, and some of the healing that comes out of that is amazing. And interestingly enough, I did an interview today on Soul TV for my book, Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board. Got 1.2 million hits. So I'm probably going to be doing some more work with creating your self-manifesting vision board very soon. And I'm working on a new book, which is a follow-up to Prosperity from A to Z. And it is the 30 P's of prosperity. Because when I did Prosperity from A to Z, which was A is for abundance, B is for balance, C is for clarity, and each one was a principle to help us manifest prosperity, I got to the P's and I had 30 of them. I couldn't even decide which one to use. So I said, this has to be the next book, the 30 P's of prosperity. So I'm working on that too. So we've got a lot of good stuff going on. And of course, every Sunday evening at 8 p.m., I do the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. So I want to thank you, Reverend Tonya Parker, for being a part of this joyful discussion this evening. So helpful to so many. And I want to encourage everyone to share this with so many others who could benefit from it. And I want to thank you for your wisdom, for your light, for your talents that have just exploded over the years. And I want to wish you all the best on your sacred sojourn and all the rest that you are doing. May God bless you and everybody. Thank you all for being here as part of the New Thought Media Network, the Miracle of Prosperity. Good night.